What is up, my guys? This is Cokes and welcome to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet video. Today I'll show you some of the best Pokemon you can use to reach Master Ball. Let's get started with our team composition. I'll explain throughout the video how to use each Pokemon, give you some tips and tricks, and guide you through the thought process you should have when using these different types of Pokemon. I will also show Pokemon you often encounter from the Pokeball tier until Ultra Ball tier. And I'll even guide you on how to choose the first 3 Pokemon at the very start of the battle. This is a singles team battle format. So without further ado, let's get to our first Pokemon. So starting things off with Meowscarada. This is a Protean, Choice Banded, Jolly Meowscarada with a Grass Terra type. This Pokemon hits like a truck with Choice Band as the item, and its stab moves thanks to its Protean ability. Moveset includes Flower Trick, Sucker Punch, Play Rough, and U-Turn. There are multiple ways to use this Pokemon. You can use it as a lead, a damage dealer, or a revenge killer. It has a high base speed and it will outspeed majority of the enemy Pokemon on the first turn. You will often see a lot of Gholdengos, Dragapults, and Rotoms in ranked battles as the potential leads of the enemy team. This is where Meowscarada is usually your go-to to counter them. This Pokemon is also good at dealing physical damage to walls. You will see a lot of Garganuckles, Dondozos, Glimeras, even though they are quite tanky. Usually, a Grass Terra boosted Flower Trick does the job if they don't terrestrialize. As a revenge killer, you set up Meowscarada for a potential one-hit Flower Trick or a Sucker Punch. Choosing between Flower Trick or Sucker Punch usually depends if the enemy Pokemon is faster or has any priority moves. Just don't forget, if you are faster than the enemy Pokemon, then you use Flower Trick. If the enemy is a faster Pokemon or has any priority moves, use Sucker Punch. When you're in a situation with a speedy Pokemon that use Sword Stance or any stat increasing buffs, just pull out your Meowscarada as the revenge killer to ensure that you get the knockout. Be careful of Skeledirge, Steel Pokemon, Steel Terra Dragon Pokemon, as you won't be able to utilize Meowscarada's set entirely. We usually see a lot of Dragon Pokemon using Steel Terra types, and this completely negates Meowscarada's moveset, as you won't be able to ensure the knockout and you won't be able to deal heavy damage as it's supposed to. So just be careful with these Pokemon, and I usually recommend switching out or setting up your Meowscarada to ensure a knockout on that enemy Pokemon. Next up is the mighty Corviknight. This is one of the best physical walls in the game. I swear, this Pokemon carried my team all the way to Ultra Ball tier. This is a mirror armor, rocky helmet, impish Corviknight with the flying Terra type. Please take note that you only use the Terra type in desperate situations. You want to retain Corviknight's steel flying type, as this negates a lot of moves in the game. The moveset includes Body Press, Brave Bird, Taunt, and Roost. So typically when you see a physical attacker, switch to Corviknight. I repeat, you switch to Corviknight. This Pokemon will tank any damage and provide chip damage with Rocky Helmet. So when a physical attacker keeps on hitting you, you can Roost to regain your HP back and just keep on tanking and stalling until you knock the enemy out with Rocky Helmet. Body Press and Brave Bird are also good damage dealing moves to set up your other Pokemon for revenge kills. You will often encounter Mimikyus, Baxcalibur, Scizor, Salamence, Meowscarada, King Gambit, and Dragonite. And I'm guaranteeing that you will be able to tank any physical, non-fire or electric Pokemon. Even a Swords Dance Mimikyu with +2 attack won't do much against our mighty Corviknight. If you encounter a Mimikyu, Corviknight's job is to get rid of the disguise because your other Pokemon will be able to kill it, or you can stall it out with Rocky Helmet until you knock it out. Corviknight is also viable against other walls such as Garganuckle, Dondozos, Toxapexes, and Hippowdons. The play here is to use Taunt so that these Pokemon won't be able to use their status movesets. They will be forced to use their damage dealing moves or switch to another Pokemon. So just be careful of fire and electric type special attack Pokemon such as Skeledirge, Magnezone, and Rotom, or any special attack Pokemon with fire and electric moves. you will find Corviknight very viable and useful as a pivot Pokemon so you can switch in and check the enemy team's movesets. Next is a Pokemon I used a lot in Sword and Shield, our trusty Dragapult. Since Dragapult is one of the fastest Pokemon in the game, he's very viable in 1v1 situations. This Pokemon is good for leads and revenge kills as well. This is a special attack set with Draco Meteor, Shadow Ball, Flamethrower, and U-Turn. I decided to put choice specs on this set so we can deal heavy damage to enemy walls. Dragapult is generally good against Dragon, Ghost, and low special defense Pokemon. It's a good counter to Hydreigon, Garchomp, Baxcalibur, Dragonite, Salamence, Skeledirge, Gholdengo, Breloom, and Rotom. It's also viable against Grimmsnarl as you can penetrate his light screens or reflect with his Infiltrator ability. Dragapult's main job is to deal heavy pressure to your enemy, whether it's knocking out Pokemon from revenge killings or dealing unexpected moves. Similar to this situation, this Scissor probably thought that my Dragapult was a physical set, so I was able to one-shot it with a Flamethrower. So if you're stuck with a move because of choice specs, just switch out to your pivot Pokemon, whether it's a Corviknight or another wall Pokemon or a Sacrificial Lamb to reset your Dragapult's moveset. This is what I do normally so I can deal heavy damage to walls with Draco Meteor and set up my revenge kills. For its Terra type, I recommend getting a Steel or Dragon Terra type since it negates Fairy or Dragon moves, or you can just use a Dragon Terra type because a Dragon Terra boosted stab Draco Meteor hits like a truck. I swear, I butchered a lot of Pokemon with this moveset. Just be careful of other dragon Pokemon using Steel Terra types. Sometimes you will encounter Dragapults or Baxcaliburs with a Steel Terra type, so it will be hard for your Dragapult to one-shot it with a Draco Meteor if the Terra type of that dragon Pokemon is a Steel Terra. So just be careful of that, my guys. Just be careful of that. Next up, we have an Adamant Baxcalibur with Thermal Exchange and Life Orb. The set I use is Dragon Dance, Ice Shard, Earthquake, and a choice between Glaive Rush or Outrage. So far, our team composition is somewhat weak to Fire-type moves, so we'll need a Baxcalibur to receive Fire-type moves and activate its ability, Thermal Exchange, which boosts the attack stat of the Pokemon by 1 stage. Follow that up with a Dragon Dance, and your Baxcalibur will hit it like a truck and potentially sweep the enemy team. Now I chose Ice Shard as its Ice-type move to negate faster Pokemon and priority moves from the enemy team. If you're in a situation with low HP Pokemon, a Life Orb stab Ice Shard will usually do the job. You'll be able to go up against Meowscaradas, Rotoms, Skeledirge, Dragapult, Garchomp, Dragonite, and Salamence. Having a Baxcalibur is also good against Garganacl if you're able to set up +1 attack from Thermal Exchange or Dragon Dance. Just be careful of Scissors, Fighting types, Fairy-type Pokemon, or even Fairy, Steel, Fighting Terras. I suggest getting a Steel or Dragon-type Terra for your Baxcalibur so you can easily go up against these counters. Next up, we have a Skeledirge with Unaware and Assault Vest. Now this set is quite modified as this is used to counter mostly Gholdengos who deal a lot of special attack damage, as well as any special attack Pokemon. With 252 HP and 176 special defense, you can at least take 2 shots from a non-Terra Gholdengo Shadow Ball and kill it with 2 Shadow Balls of your own. Skeledirge is good against Gholdengos, Magnezones, Scizors, Among Us, and any Fire-type Pokemon. You can use Skeledirge as another pivot Pokemon for Fire-type Pokemon or Pokemon with special attack moves. Just be careful of its typing, as Ghost-type moves will deal a lot of damage to Skeledirge. I suggest you put a Fire-Terra type on your Skeledirge because there's usually a lot of Fairies, a lot of Steel types, and a lot of Fire types as well. Now the last 2 Pokemon is a choice between a Choice Scarf Timid Gholdengo or a Focus Sash Jolly Ceruledge. Choice Scarf Timid Gholdengo is viable for Fairy, Ice, Ghost, and Revenge kills, since its moveset includes Make It Rain, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, and Power Gem. Its Terra type is Ghost, so you can negate ground and Fire type moves. This Pokemon is good if you see a pattern wherein the enemy team is weak against special attack Pokemon, but be careful of Sucker Punches as that would inflict so much damage or a potential one-shot to your Gholdengo. However, in the higher ranks, I usually prefer Focus Sash Jolly Ceruledge, as this Pokemon is used for clutch situations. Its moveset includes Bitter Blade, Shadow Sneak, Close Combat, and Destiny Bond. If you're going up against a Garganacl or a Dondozo, or any Pokemon that you usually have a hard time killing, you can just use this Pokemon and use Destiny Bond. Destiny Bonds ensures a knockout if you use it correctly. But Ceruledge is also viable since we see a lot of Steel, Fairy, normal Terra types. This Pokemon is good against Scizor, Hydreigon, Baxcalibur, Breloom, Dragapult, Magnezone, and Among Us. So there you have it, my guys. Now that we have gone through all of our Pokemon, here's how we choose the Pokemon against our enemy teams. So we all know that this team is somewhat weak to Fire-type Pokemon and Fire-type moves. So having a Baxcalibur or a Skeledirge in the backline is always a good idea if the enemy team has Fire-type Pokemon or possible Fire-type moves. If you see many physical attackers, Corviknight would always have to be part of the lineup for obvious reasons. A Corviknight Baxcalibur is a pretty good combo, as you can just switch to your Baxcalibur if you expect a Fire-type move hitting Corviknight. You can do the same thing with Meowscarada and Gholdengo if you'd like. If the enemy is mostly special attack Pokemon, then Skeledirge is viable for obvious reasons. Now, to choose between Meowscarada or Dragapult is pretty tricky. However, sometimes I use both sweepers with Corviknight as my pivot. This gives you a lot of clutch plays and late game potential. So if I had to choose between Meowscarada or Dragapult, it would have to be Meowscarada due to its late game potential. But Dragapult is also viable when you want to deal heavy damage and apply pressure, or even late game revenge kills. Just make sure you always have 2 damage dealing sweepers and a pivot to ensure you get most of your lineup every time. Now here's a list of potential teams that you can work with using this team composition. But again, it really depends on the enemy lineup, and it really depends on your playstyle and your preference and your game experience. If you keep losing your matches in the first try, that is okay, because experience will always come to you as you do more battles. So if you lose in the first few matches, that is okay. Don't feel bad, because I lost my first 3 matches using this team. And just after a few hours, I was able to reach the Master Ball rank. So there you have it, my guys. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and smash that like button. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers, and I appreciate all the support. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.